joined by Ryan Ford, who makes his return to the mixed martial arts cage coming up here on September 28th at Unified 34. He's going to be in the main event taking on Matt Delanoy. Ryan, what's going on, man? How you doing?
What's happening, man? You know, I'm doing good.
I bet, man. This is a huge opportunity, and it's great to see you back in the MMA game. And October 2014 was the last time we saw you in the cage. Of course, you fought Jake Shields. I think a lot of people want to know, at 36 years old, 36 years young, I should say, why return to the cage at this point?
You know, it's just I've been itching the last 3 years to get back in there. But, you know, I was just focusing on boxing. And now, you know, just with the last outcome of my couple fights, I kind of realized in boxing, if you don't have somebody with big money behind you backing you, you're never going to get those titles, right? So, you know, I'm at the point now in my career where it's I'm here to fight. You know, if you look in the dictionary for the definition of prize fighter, you know, there's a picture of me there, right? Gloves on, gloves off, knees, kicks, elbows, whatever it is. If it makes dollars, it makes sense.
Yeah, and it's great getting to fight for Unified. They've been putting on a lot of really good shows. And like I referenced there, the last time you fought was against Jake Shields. And if people don't remember that fight, you fought with a broken arm. One of the things I always wanted to ask you was, did the commission give you crap about that after the fight that you hit that? Was there any backlash after that?
They gave me a 6-month suspension, but I needed the time to recover anyway. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well,
I
think
at the end of the day,
well, I was going to say, I don't think what people realize about that fight is that, like, you were that card. I mean, if people don't know, in Edmonton, you are, I mean, you're called the real deal, but it really is as advertised. People come out to watch you fight. If you would have pulled out of that fight, that would have probably put that card in shambles. Am I right?
Yeah, no, 100%. You know, I sold a lot of tickets for that fight. You know, it was a situation where, you know, at the end of the day, I tell people, it's in the fight game, you get in the cage or you get in the ring and you fight, you get paid. You don't step in the ring or the cage, you don't get paid. So, you know, I got a family to feed. I got 3 people that need to eat before I do. And like I said, I'm starving every day. So, you know, that's just me, right? I'm a real fighter. I'm as real as it gets.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I talked about the boxing there. I know your last couple fights, you know, decisions that didn't go your way, but overall, you know, you've done well. You know, 13-3 record. You've been doing that basically since 2015. How has that experience been as a whole? You know, not counting the last couple fights. You know, just as a whole.
Oh man, it's been awesome. You know, like there's no fighter in the world that has done what I've done. You know, in such little time, right? I fought MMA for 9 years and switched up to boxing for 2 years. And my last 3 fights were against the top 20 guys in the world. And, you know, we went all 12 rounds, championship rounds. And I never got beat, you know, especially my last 2. I won them. I just got robbed. My first one against Fedor Chutinov, you know, was former world champion, guy with 350 amateur fights, fought, you know, the who's who in boxing. And, you know, we went 12 rounds. And after the fight, he told me I was the toughest guy that he's ever fought.
That's great. That's awesome, man. So, you know, you're back here. You know, I know one of the things you've done in the past, and I know even you did this in your boxing time as well, but I used to train a bit at TriStar. Is the plan to go do that for this fight, or are you just going to stay at home in Edmonton?
Yeah, no, you know what? I'm probably just gonna stay home here at Edmonton. I'm gonna go between here and Calgary. I got a few friends that train up in Calgary, and then also at the end of July, I'm gonna head up to Vancouver and see Cajun Johnson, go into his gym there, and just, you know, just make my way around. Like I said, you know, the past 6 months, my last 3 fights in boxing, you know, I was away from the family for 4 months out of that 6. So, you know, and then even counting when I fought MMA, I was always away for 6 to 8 weeks at a time at TriStar training. So that time of leaving home now, you know, my son, my daughter, they're both getting bigger now. And, you know, I got to stay home now, you know. So I know I can put the work in here and get the job done that I need to get done.
You mentioned reuniting with Cajun Johnson. Are we going to see a part 2 to that rap video you guys did with the freestyling? Because that was pretty good if people haven't seen it.
Yeah, that was old school. That was back in the TriStar dorms.
Exactly,
there.
yeah. Yeah.
No, yeah, for sure. Hey, who knows? You know, Cajun's always in the rap game there, always in the music stuff. So you never know, right? Yeah. We might be dropping something new.
I think this one could go viral. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But let's talk about your opponent quickly. I'm sure you didn't know much about him, but I actually interviewed him a few weeks ago because he fought for Shamrock FC. He's a Missouri guy. Did you know anything about him? Like, have you had a chance to look him up at this point?
Yeah, I took a look at his videos and stuff of his last few fights and stuff. You know, he's a gamer, right? He comes to fight. You look at his record; he's 27-14. You know, he comes and show up. But you know, he's fought some tough guys, but he hasn't been in the cage with somebody like me. You know, like There's a difference. You can fight somebody, and then when that cage door closes and I'm the guy staring at you, it's a whole different fight.
And I mentioned this fight's like months away. As far as the weight cut process, when does that actually start for you?
Well, you know what? I'm always in the gym. The weight cut is, usually the last week, right? That's the thing is I try not to focus on my weight during training camps because then you're always thinking about your weight and not thinking about other stuff that you need to get done. So, like I said, I've been fighting in the fight game now for, I believe, 12 years. I've never missed weight one time, boxing and MMA. 27 MMA fights, 17 pro boxing fights. So, I know what I got to get done. And, that's the biggest thing first is step on the scale and make the weight. If you're a true professional, you stand on that scale and you make the weight.
So how many fights is this unified deal? Like, are you locked up for a couple fights, or is it just, one fight at a time? You'll see how it goes.
You know what? It's one fight at a time. That's the thing about me. I've learned a lot in the fight game since I've been fighting. And, as of right now, I'm not locking myself down in a contract because, as you see, I'm an active fighter. If I knock a guy out in the first round or I'm not hurt, I want to fight next week.
Right.
So, it's me and Sonny, we've been good friends for a long, long time, outside the sport. So, we made a deal that, let's do this one first. And, to me, it's the opportunities. If I get another opportunity that makes more sense, makes more money, well, then that's where I'm going to go, right? Because at the end of the day now, I'm not chasing titles. I'm chasing paychecks.
Right. Yeah. And you're still a big draw. I mean, like, people, your name still comes up. I know you've been boxing, but, even as someone who I've covered the sport, I still hear your name all the time. So it's obviously good to, the fact your brand, I guess I should say, has always been pretty strong. You talked about, big money fights and everything. Do you still have issues going to the States? Like, would it just be fights in Canada going forward?
Yeah, you know what? I still do have the issues with the States. I'm hoping it's done this year. Okay. But then again, in the States, the biggest fights aren't happening in the States. And the money right now, it's all across the border, not the United States border, but, overseas. And,
true.
My last 3 fights, 2 of them in Russia, 1 in Germany. I fought in Singapore. And so, I actually like the international exposure, right? You get your brand out to a bigger market than just, Northern America, right?
No, I agree. And we're seeing that now. I mean, we just saw Jeremy Kennedy, leave the UFCs, going off to fight for Brave. It seems like there's, greater opportunities financially for a lot of fighters, competing internationally, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%, right? And that's the thing, a lot of guys get hooked up on the UFC want to fight in the UFC, but it's like if you really look at the back end of it, you don't want to fight for the UFC. Yeah, if you want to say you're a UFC fighter, then okay. Mm-hmm. But, I have some good friends who fought in the UFC and a couple guys who still do, and they don't like it, So it's and that's the thing about me, too, is I don't want to get locked down in a long-term contract where, I'm ready to fight and all I'm doing is sitting and waiting.
Exactly.
I got bills to feed. I got bills to pay. I got people to feed. It's just how I make a living in my life, and I can't do that.
What are your thoughts on MMA and how it's changed since the last time you stepped in the cage? Because we have seen a lot, I think the entertainment side of the sport has really sort of taken over as opposed to maybe merit. If a guy wins a fight, a guy loses a fight, it seems like whoever speaks the loudest gets the biggest fight. In the UFC anyways, I should say.
Yeah, no, 100%, right? And that's all part of the business, right? At the end of the day, everybody sees it's a fight sport, but at the end of the day, it's the fight business, right? And people need to understand that, closed mouths don't get fed. Look at Conor McGregor, at the beginning, I wasn't really a big fan, but he talked and he backed it up, and I became a fan. And look at him. He talked his way into a $100 million fight against Floyd Mayweather. 0 boxing fights, Yeah. So at the end of the day, it is the entertainment business, but you do have to fight.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Just in general, like, it sounds like you have been paying attention to what's happening in MMA. Like, when you left, it's not like you just, put on blinders and only focused on boxing. Like, you're still watching the UFC, right?
Oh, yeah. I still watch it. Not as regular because there's too many damn UFC cards and half the guys I don't even know.
Yeah.
So, but I still watch, like I have friends who are competing in like ACB, Brave. Like, so I'm always watching, At the end of the day, my life is surrounded by fight sports, right? I go to the gym every single day, and it's, I live, breathe fighting, right? If it's, obviously it's family first, but fighting's next. So, I'm always watching. and the thing with mixed martial arts is the game is always improving and there's always new stuff being evolved in mixed martial arts, right? So that's the one thing is, you know, you got to get caught up on these things because you'll get guys who've been fighting for years, but there's a new type of MMA going down, right?
You used to fight for World Series of Fighting, and now it's called PFL, and they're doing kind of like a points-based system. Have you been paying attention to that at all? Usually the hardcore fans pay attention to that, but I wanted to get your thoughts if you are.
Yeah, no, you know what? I haven't really been paying attention to that. Jay Kuhn is a buddy of mine I met out in Thailand, and I know that he's fighting it and stuff. But you know, I really haven't caught the whole concept of it yet. Yeah, you know, but you know, it's a good concept. You know, win $1 million, of course. You know, that's what we're in. We're in it to make that $1 million. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Last question before I let you go here. What are you watching on TV right now? You watching any Netflix, anything like that? I know you're a family guy. You don't get a lot of that time, but are you watching anything?
Oh, yeah. You know what? Well, if kids go to bed, and then it's me and the wife's time to sit down and watch TV. You know, I've been watching, just waiting for the new season of Power to come out with 50 Cent in them. What's another one we just finished? The wife made me watch that 13 Reasons Why.
Me too. Don't worry about it. Guilty as charged, so it's okay.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, people don't understand, when you got a wife, you got to sit through some TV shows and stuff that you might not be really interested in, right? So, yeah. But yeah, no, you know what? Just at night times, usually we just pick up on whatever is out there, right?
Yeah.
I'm not really too big on the TV. The only time that the TV's on is at nighttime for that like hour and a half, and then watch the news, and then it's bedtime.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, this is going to be
actually awesome. Right now I'm watching the World Cup.
Of course. So who are you cheering for? Who's your team?
Man, I like Messi, so Argentina. You know, I was with Italy because my wife's Italian and my kids are Italian, right? So, but they're not in it this year. So, you know, I like Messi, Argentina, but the World Cup this year is it's weird. Like teams that are like beating other teams and tying with teams. It's very up and down, like who's going to win this thing this year.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, this is going to be a great fight. It's coming up here September 28th, Unified 34. Ryan, thanks so much for taking the time, man. I really appreciate it. Just remind people where they can get a hold of you on social media, and if you got any sponsors or shout-outs, the floor is yours.
All right, yeah, you guys can check me out on Instagram, Ryan Ford Boxing. I'm going to have to do another little switch to that.
You should put boxing and MMA or something. That'd be funny.
Ryan Ford. Straight fighter, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
You check me out on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm Ryan Ford. I also got a fan page, Ryan the Real Deal Ford. I believe I'm on Twitter too, Ryan Ford Boxing. And my sponsors right now, I haven't really locked down a few, but I got Tydax Fitness, Royal Empire Jewelry, Genesis Edmonton, and always Real Deal Athletics. That's my clothing line. You can go check it out on realdealathletics.ca. Get some gear. And we'll also have a booth at Unified if you guys want to pick up some real deal gear. And I want to thank Sonny and Unified for giving me the platform to showcase my skills. And thank you very much for having me on the show, just to let people know what's going down.
What's up, fight fans? If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to see even more interviews with your favorite UFC and Bellator fighters. We've also got coverage at events, including post-fight press conferences and media scrums. And if you like this video, check out the video to my right. It's worth your time.